Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as FDRs, but hey, it's something. No major housekeeping for this episode as of yet, so let's get right into the news. First, I'm going to give a little bit of an update in regards to the Mexico situation, because the Mexico situation has gotten slightly more heated, I guess. First came the fact that a Morena coordinator named Lucia Guadalupe Mora was murdered in the state of Chihuahua. And Morena, in turn, decided to blame Maru Campos for the situation. Now, they didn't necessarily blame her, specifically for doing it. They weren't going that far. But they were saying that her, focusing all of her attention on, the U.S., type of thing. Her focusing on this whole U.S. thing was the issue. They were oh, she... her doing this is taking her away from actually taking care of her own citizens in her own city or state. Highlighting the specific fact that they refuse to participate in, in security meetings with the rest of the governors and Morena, and instead are going to just go around and just, go behind their back and go to the U.S. And escalation has risen with, I think this is a mix of possibly an older thing and a newer thing, but Ailito Moreno, the leader of the PRI, he's also I don't know if this is specifically I'm trying to remember if this was a thing that he said earlier or if this is a thing that he's saying now, but he accused Morena, of course, of being narco terrorists, again, calling for U.S. invasion and whatever, but he's also now been holding meetings with Morena Machado, the leader of the Venezuelan opposition, again, to hype up the fact that, again, these guys are just unequivocally showing that there's just no sense of autonomy of their nations anymore. And I will say this, I actually think this is a somewhat good thing for the Latin American left, because it's just amazing that the Latin American right has fully, unequivocally given up the notion that they are anything more than just U.S. pawns. That is just actually an unironically good thing. Because now the campaigns are just explicitly more clear now. The left-wing nationalists in Latin America can literally run on being nationalists. And there's another element of this that I'm going to get into in another news story, but there's also another escalation that has happened with this, and it's the fact that the ex-Sinaloa security chief, Gerardo Merida Sanchez, was arrested in Arizona and is now transferred to New York for alleged ties to the drug cartels. But again, they do this while they let Juan Orlando Hernandez roam free. Because again, it's just how things are. But anyways, not much else I can really say about that except, reminding you hands off Mexico. So let's move on to the next story. And these are two news stories that are coming from the UK area that are related to, the recent UK elections that just happened in Scotland and Wales. And the first one is an interesting one. It's because this is a small thing that kind of has happened. And it's the fact that one of the people who won in the Scotland elections was a person by the name of Q Manivannan. Manivannan is a non-binary Indian immigrant who is, who's an MP now of the Scottish Green Party. But there was one controversy about their election that is a bit questionable to a lot of people, and it is the fact that Q Manivannan is in Scotland under a student visa. And the reason why Q is stating that they are the reason why they're explaining my plan was that I'm currently in the process of getting a graduate visa, which would allow them to stay in the UK for 3 more years, also seeking to get a longer-term global talent visa. But there is the slight most people don't necessarily mind that. I mean, I guess there's the nationalist perspective, oh, how could this happen? But most people are kind of actually not bothered by this. But one MP, the Ian Blackford, the former SNP leader, stated that they believed that that Manivannan should step down because of the uncertainty of their immigration status. Not necessarily like to like, you know, like, oh, you can't be here because you're an immigrant or whatever, but like just purely the fact that even like this is the one small issue with it that actually could lead to some quote unquote legitimate concerns, is because in the process, like since they're currently in the process to get the visa and they do not currently have the visa, for the next couple of bits, they will not be able to formally do their duties as an MP of Scotland because they are busy, because like you have to like be official, like you have to go through like, I mean, I'll just read what it says in the Times. However, it is understood there is uncertainty over the Indian citizens' current immigration status will allow them to employ staff, such as researchers and caseworkers, which are seen as vital for parliamentarians to carry out their roles effectively. And while Ian Blackford does raise that issue, the way he did it is a little eyebrow-raising, particularly the fact that throughout the entire statement he keeps misgendering Q. Because unfortunately the Scottish National Party has that one small problem where there's a little bit of a... I tried to look to see if I could verify if Q uses two different pronouns, but I can't find anything to indicate that. I could be wrong, but because the article also misgenders them a bit, so I'm just going with they, them, and because they also on the Wikipedia page of Q they say that they are agender. So I mean I'm just making an assumption, but I'm trying to make a good assumption. But another element of the recent elections has led to this interesting thing. So the Scottish National Party, Plaid Cymru, and Sinn Féin held a meeting on the 16th, the 14th, where they were going to discuss, you know, they were just going to discuss, like, you know, how these historic election results were going to be. And what is interesting about it is that, again, like, they're showing, like, I mean, this is one of the big interesting parts where it's like they met with them in Westminster, which is like I mean, I saw a joke about it on Twitter where someone's like, okay, you got the SNP to show up in Westminster? That's a big deal. And one of the big, this is the thing, it's like, it says right here, the first Minister of Northern Ireland has met with the SNP and Plaid Cymru in a bid to work together to secure each country's right to national self-determination. And that's one of the big things, that was one of the big things that everybody was kind of seeing with these results of the elections, with the massive wins of the SNP and Plaid Cymru. Like, I mean, again, the SNP winning, no big deal. I mean, they were already the ones who were, like, overwhelmingly winning. The Plaid Cymru winning was like, whoa, big news story. Plaid Cymru won. And Sinn Féin, they got like a slim majority. So people are thinking like, will this translate over there? And it seems like now these groups are finally starting to coordinate their efforts to actually get things done. Because again, like most of these countries are all basically like, they've all made it abundantly clear like what their goals are. Because they're all making it abundantly clear. Like the SNP has made it abundantly clear ever since like John Sweeney won like a little bit ago when he first got in. Not when he first got in, because he got in like a while ago. He was like the leader for a while, but then he came back after Hamza Yousaf was forced to resign. But like he like said like basically once the formal UK elections happened, he basically said, yeah, first goal on my agenda, especially with the rise of the national, like with the sub-national elections, my plan is simple: Scottish independence. And Plaid Cymru, he said, hey, Welsh independence. And Sinn Féin, obviously, I don't think we need to really go into the Sinn Féin, because I think Sinn Féin's like the most vocal about it, even when they don't need to hide it. But it's pretty clear that these movements are rising. And similarly, again, these movements are a good antithesis to the rise of, you know, like we've had like the rise of right-wing nationalism for a while, but like clearly, I mean, this brand really, I gotta be real. The right-wing nationalist brand only works in the imperial powers. It really only works there, because once you leave imperial powers, you can't do it. I mean, you can, but eventually it kind of runs dry, because as I mentioned before, again, with the rise of the right-wing, the right-wing nationalism of the United States is currently focused heavily on the United States, and it is spread to other countries. Like, I mean, you know, again, Reform UK is basically just trying to copy the Trump style in the UK, But that only works in the UK. They've tried expanding this to other places. You know, Edward Verstuggi in Mexico, it fucking flopped immediately. Conor McGregor in Ireland, it fucking flopped immediately. Andrew Tate is trying to start his like fucking incel movement in the UK. It's not doing so hot. And again, we're seeing the rise of how these left-wing nationalist movements are counteracting it. Because, like, the right-wing nationalists, again, they're all hyper-focused on the United States, and they're all hyper-focused on, like, the imperial powers. Once you start leaving the imperial powers, it fails. And the reason why I know this is because in the wake of Plaid Cymru's election, there was a Twitter page that popped up. I don't know if it was a new Twitter page or not, but I started seeing it after that. And it was a page called Plaid Cymru Exposed. The page was started this year in January, and it was literally like, the page is like here's what it says. It says, "We are a cross-party movement dedicated to exposing Plaid Cymru's toxic separatist politics." And I don't know if this account posted this tweet, but there was a tweet from somebody who was trying to explain, like they were trying to they were also trying to expose the leader of Plaid Cymru, Féin Peelworth, because they basically they were the picture, like the poster of this thing posted a picture of him, and it's like, huh, that's weird. His name, his dad's name is Edward Morris Jones. Huh. Why is his name Féin Peelworth? And it's like, the reason why is because Féin Peelworth is a traditional Welsh way of, like, having your name. That's a traditional Welsh way to have your name. It literally translates to Féin, son of Eorwerth, which is the traditional Welsh name that is Anglicized to Edward. It's literally like they're exposing him for being Welsh. That's basically what what they were doing. And they were also doing the same thing where it's like they were like posting like a pic. Like, the thing that caught my attention was when they were posting pictures of Féin when he was younger, when he was participating in a movement to make sure that Welsh names were still the name. Like, I mean, there was basically like a movement in Wales at one point that was going to change all of the traditional Welsh names on the signs to English names, and he led a movement that basically said, no, we're not going to do that. And it's like they're posting those pictures like, oh my goodness, take a look at this is terrible what he's doing. And it's like, dude, that is literally the thing that you guys do. Like, I don't understand again, like, let's just do it. Let's just do this. Reverse. Let's do English. Replacing the English names with the names of any common language spoken by a group that is not traditional to the area. You know, that's literally what the right-wing movements, the right-wing nationalist movements do. They literally cry when it's like, oh, let's add a Spanish name underneath it so that people know what this place is. Like, how dare you even insinuate doing that? It's like, and they're literally trying to do the same. This is the problem. It's like, in these areas, these movements can't work because Welsh people like being Welsh. Like, literally, this is the dumb thing. It's like, and this is why it's like left-wing nationalists. This is our prime opportunity. Let's do it. Like, I mean, I don't know how well it will work in other areas. I mean, left-wing nationalism, I don't know how well it could work in the United States. Although, I have been looking a lot more into Browderism, and Browderism did work a little bit, so maybe it could work here, but like, in these areas, left-wing nationalism really fucking works, because, like, again, like, Welsh people like being Welsh, so the Englanders rushing to try and claim Welsh culture as theirs is like fucking. And in fact, I literally saw like a thing where someone was they're literally framing the argument in Wales that England is supposed to save Wales. Like, this is the hypothetical that they are proposing to Welsh people. It's like, so would you rather have Welsh as a language and then also have all these other languages like Arabic and Spanish and all those other yucky countries and other yucky languages? Or would you rather purely be English? And Welsh people are literally openly saying, I would prefer the first one, because literally it's like, you're just openly saying you want to colonize us and you do not want us to be our own independent nation to make our own decisions. Like, again, please, Reform UK, please run on that as your campaign slogan. Do you want to be Welsh or do you want to be English? Make that your campaign slogan and see what fucking happens. Back in the day, you guys used to pretend there was like some like give and push. Like even in like Northern Ireland, like the Northern Irish, they have to at least pretend that they're still like somewhat Irish. But if the Northern Ireland, like if like the Fine Gael and all those other fucking like losers just openly start campaigning on we will be purely England, I'm sure Sinn Féin's just gonna start magically becoming a lot more popular. Like, for real, please do this. Please do this. I genuinely want this to happen because if you do this, you're making the fall of the United Kingdom inevitable. And like, yeah, unequivocally, I'm pro-Scottish independence, I'm pro-Irish unity, I'm pro-Welsh independence, and you know what? I'll even throw it to Gibraltar. You get to be independent too. And another thing I need to mention about the Plaid Cymru exposed page before I move on to the next story, it's the fact that in their pinned tweet, they mentioned the Green Party. Like that's their real big fish. They're aiming at the Green Party. This is not about Wales. Has nothing to do about Wales. It's about the Green Party. Because again, their only counter to right-wing nationalism seems to be left-wing populism, left-wing nationalism. That seems to be the only counteracting. Anyway, speaking of, I guess I'll move on to this next news story because this is also somewhat related to, I guess, the rise of left-wing nationalism or whatever. I don't know if this necessarily counts left-wing nationalism, but you know, left-wing populism. This is just a good transition because it's a funny news story. Remember when they tried to smear Graham Plattner? Remember that? Well, since Graham Plattner is basically won, Dems have moved on to their next target to try and oppose. Because a lot of people have noted that it actually seems like the Senate could actually be a great pickup for people in the political left. I mean, we have Graham Plattner, and I mean, for lack of a better term, like Peggy Flanagan is also basically guaranteed to win the Senate nomination in Minnesota. So that's two. Although I don't think Peggy Flanagan is necessarily on the same level as Graham Plattner or even the person that I'm really mentioning for this news story. But, I mean, she's fine. I think she'd be a pretty good senator. But the race that is seen as, quite honestly, the biggest one, in my opinion, is the Michigan Senate race with Abdul El-Sayed. And he's their new target because he's the only one they can beat now. And the Democrats have launched this new attack. And by new attack, I mean old attack, because this is an attack from his 2018, gubernatorial bid against Gretchen Whitmer. And it is the attack of him claiming to be a physician, but has, quote, little history treating patients. Two interesting sections of this article state right here. One, it says, this is one of the ones that's been, pumping around on Twitter all the time, and it's, there's no doubt that El-Sayed has had top-notch medical credentials. He attended the University of Michigan Medical School and ended up receiving his medical degree from Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons. He has a doctorate in public health from Oxford University and worked as an assistant professor of epidemiology at Columbia for a year before moving to Detroit to be executive director and health officer of the Detroit Health Department. See, the first thing that is just interesting is he got a degree from a University of Physicians. Interesting. And also, there was another part that I don't think it got a lot of, circling. It was El-Sayed's hands-on experience treating patients appears to be a short clinical rotation called a sub-internship at a small hospital in Manhattan for 4 weeks at the end of medical school. And the article goes on to state, the reason why he stopped he didn't really feel comfortable continuing to practice on patients, and instead wanted to focus on more systemic issues in the medical field, which is why his hyperfixation is Medicare for all as, his top issue. And this situation has turned into just a fucking hilarious meme, because Abdul El-Sayed has, the first thing he did when this came out was he posted tweets on his Twitter page, or his second Twitter page. I don't know how this really works now, because now they have now every fucking account has an HQ page that isn't technically affiliated with them, or I don't know if it is or not. I don't fucking know. It's so weird. It's why don't you just post it on your fucking main page? Regardless, he posted a picture on that page with his medical degrees saying, "It's doctor to you," and it's just Yeah. That's basically the biggest way you can respond there, because like that's one of the big things. Because I gotta be real on my aspect of this. I knew that I kept seeing like sometimes when people would refer to Abdul El-Sayed, they say like Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, but it never really registered to me that he's like an actual doctor. Like it never actually registered to me. I know that I would assume that like, you know, they don't put the doctor label on like people who aren't doctors, but I mean like the label doctor just means you have your doctorate. So I guess the natural assumption is that he is a doctor, which he is. I mean, when you Google Abdul El-Sayed, it literally says Abdul El-Sayed, doctor. He's written like over 100 scholarly articles on medical degrees. He was a professor of medicine for a while. It's like, I mean, I just gotta be real. It's just like everybody's just like the meme is literally just like, this is your line of attack? That the man who says he's a doctor is a doctor? And it's pretty clear this was meant to be like the attack, because Mallory McMorrow popped out of it and brought it out again. It's just like, again, I just kind of feel vindicated that, like, I really just feel absolutely vindicated that anybody who said Mallory McMorrow was good or anything, I mean, I'll take your apologies in the comments if you want, but the fact of the matter is, it's like, why did you fall for it? I mean this in the most genuine sense. Why did you fall for it? I mean, falling for something like a Fetterman who actively, explicitly lies to you about his record and his policies, that's one thing. But McMorrow didn't even give you that. She didn't even give you that. Like, she was a state representative who ran on abortion and trans rights. Good. Yes, good things. But again, trying to pay me, like, name me any Democrat that is not pro either of those things. So, like, what was I supposed to get? What was I supposed to get? And a lot of people, like, I mean, I just gotta say this. It's like, at this point, I guess we just gotta be real. We just gotta drop the label progressive. I just gotta say it. Fucking say it. We have to drop the label progressive. Progressivism is, I mean, I made a podcast about it already. Progressivism is not enough. We had our fun with progressivism. Progressivism is no more. Even to the point where I might fucking, like, change the fucking beginning text thing, but I don't even know what it would be. The only reason why I still have the label progressive on there is because on a social level, I am a social progressive. I'm socially progressive. But I think that as a label, we should just drop the term progressive to identify the broad ideology that people run with. That's in the past. We just gotta move on to just fully being socialist. That's just it. Like, again, Richie Torres got to call himself a progressive. Fucking, if Mallory McMorrow, like, people are still like, Mallory McMorrow is a progressive. It's like, if she's still a progressive at this point, it's just like, yeah, if that's progressivism, I don't want that. Elizabeth Warren is a progressive. Warren is done. I don't like Warren. I mean, we could still admire progressives for things that they've done. And yeah, I mean, the progressive era of the United States was a good era for, you know, for the most part. But again, we need to move past it. Like, it's like, literally, it's like, Abraham Lincoln was good, but he wasn't enough. He should have went further. The radical Republicans back in the day, they were good too, but they should have went further. A lot of them were like free market capitalists, but also, like, again, it's just like, they all could go further. Like, that's the thing. It's like, we gotta draw a line in the sand at this point. Like, I mean, I would endorse only socialists if I could, but I mean, I know that there's just gonna be some places where it's just like, they just don't run. But literally, at this point, socialism is the only path forward for America. If we don't have, it's not even just being a socialist, because like, sometimes even the socialists can fail. Like, in LA, there's a DSA person running for mayor of LA, and they are pro-Israel. It's like, clearly that's not enough. Sometimes even they gotta be pushed further. In conclusion, fuck your smears. I don't care. Good candidates are good candidates. Fuck you. Disagree. L ratio Abdul El-Sayed for Senate. Now let's move on to the next story, which is a depressing news story, and it's a very interesting one. Colorado governor is going to, like Jared Polis, has announced that he's going to cut Tina Peters' prison sentence in half and will release her on parole on June 1st. Now, for those of you who might not know who Tina Peters is, Tina Peters was a woman who was the clerk and recorder of Mesa County in regards to the elections, who was indicted for illegally allowing some random fucking guy to access the voter rolls of Mesa County, Colorado, because he was basically trying to tell her that the 2020 election was illegitimate and he wanted to find proof in her voter rolls. So she just allowed this random guy to access the voter rolls and the voting machines and take a look, and gave him the literal, like, he literally copied all the information and took it for his own personal use. And she knew what she was doing was illegal because not only had she signed off that the election was done legitimately, that she monitored, but also that they literally, like, she turned off the cameras. Like, she literally, like, one of the reasons why it was, like, declared really, really bad was that she literally turned off the cameras. Like, literally, she just turned it off. Making a BS claim about, like, oh, there's no reason why they have to keep running, like, 100%, and while they were turned off, she let this guy in. And while Jared Polis has tried to claim, I'm not pardoning her, I publicly said I would not even consider a pardon. She's a convicted felon, she deserves to be a convicted felon, and she will remain a convicted felon. But he's letting her go. Like no, it doesn't, no, you're not understanding, Jared. This doesn't fucking matter, you fucking loser. This doesn't matter. She's going free. That is what's happening. You're commuting her sentence. She's walking free. Her being labeled a convicted felon doesn't fucking matter. She's going out. She's being let go. She's being shown that she can commit this crime and walk. Again, it doesn't matter that she's labeled the naughty word of convicted felon. Donald Trump is a convicted felon and a fucking pedophile, and he's the president of the fucking United States. And this is the thing. It's like, this decision nobody likes. Like, literally, this is the thing. This is not even just Democrats in his area not liking it. Even Republicans in Colorado are like, this is a stupid decision. Because they're the ones who put her in jail. They're the ones who, like, wow, yo, bro, this is, like, fucked up. And sure enough, everybody's, like, pointing out this fact is also, like, whatever political chances he had for a future career, it's gone. There's no way. Like, I mean, Polis is just a fucking, like, I don't even know, bro. Like, this is the thing about Polis. Polis is the weirdest fucking guy, because, like, he's, like, a libertarian, but, like, an actual libertarian, so it's, like, he, like, actually just believes in stupid shit all the time. Like, while I was fucking reading, like, I mean, I was literally, like, I was just gonna read, like, random parts of the fucking, like, thing, but, like, it's weird, it's weirder, dude. Like, this is the thing, it says, like, Jared Polis recommended following public intellectuals Richard Hania and Nicholas Decker. And here's the things about those two. Hania is obviously a white supremacist. Like, I mean, that one I knew. But I was like, Nicholas Decker, I recognize that name. And then I check it out. It's like, Nicholas Decker was the guy who wrote, like, fucking, like, article on his Substack where he advocated, like, where he basically posed a question, like, when should we, them? But on the Wikipedia page, it described Nicholas Decker as a guy who defended zoophilia and AI-generated CSAM. And I'm like, what? And then I clicked the article, and yes, there are citations. There's like an actual, like, they actually include, like it's just, there's an actual tweet that he posted where not only he defended, like, that, he also defended the lowering age of consent. It's like, bro, like, the AI generated thing was, like, easily debunked, like, almost immediately by a SNL sketch. So it's like, again, like, those are the kind of people Jared Polis likes. So keep that in mind. That's why he's so in line with Trump now. I get it now. Anyways, I had another news story, but honestly, I don't think I could top that. I honestly do not think I could fucking top that. So I'm just gonna move on to the main topic. And I think that actually, that on two levels can actually be a good transition point to discuss what the main topic is. Because it's me continuing the trend of a couple of the recent episodes where I basically point out the fact that liberals are not ready. It's the liberals are not ready saga, because that's the one thing that I really thought about when I was reading like a lot of the stuff that was going on in the recent news, and I'm just like, yeah, liberals are not fucking ready. They are not fucking ready. And the thing that I'm going to focus on when I talk about this is, as the title suggests, the Imperial Boomerang. It's a thing that I've mentioned a couple of times, especially to there's one guy in the audience that I like explicitly mentioned. Like, yeah, when the Imperial Boomerang comes back to you, it's gonna fucking hurt. But let's just do a little bit of an explaining. What is the Imperial Boomerang? The Imperial Boomerang is a concept that was originally coined by a Martiniquan poet, Aimé Césaire, in his 1950 essay, Discourse on Colonialism. It's an analysis on how governments that have colonialist and or imperialist intentions will obviously resort to various authoritarian methods to enforce it, which are usually supported by a lot of the people in the homeland because they benefit greatly from the imperialism in question. But much like a boomerang, those methods will soon be used by that government back at you. Like literally, basically, it's basically just like understanding the fact, like, if they can build the apparatus that can do all these things over there, eventually, it's going to come back here. And I'm going to take this section from this book that was on the Wikipedia page and just read it in full, because this just kind of gives you a big understanding of it. And he also kind of goes at it in an analysis from, like, inward of the people in Europe. And then one fine day, the bourgeoisie is awakened by the terrific boomerang effect. The Gestapos are busy. The prisons fill up. The torturers standing around the racks invent, refine, discuss. People are surprised. They become indignant. They say, how strange, but never mind. It's Nazism. It'll pass. And they wait. And they hope. And they hide the truth from themselves. That it is barbarism, the supreme barbarism, the crowning barbarism, that sums up all the daily barbarisms, that it is Nazism, yes, but that before they were its victims, they were its accomplices, that they tolerated that Nazism before it was inflicted on them, that they absolved it, shut their eyes to it, legitimized it, because until then, it had been applied only to non-European peoples, that they had cultivated that Nazism, that they are responsible for it, and that before engulfing the world edifice of Western Christian civilization in its reddened waters, it oozes, seeps, and trickles from every crack. A French communist named Michel Foucault also proposed a similar concept in his lecture Society Must Be Defended. While colonization, with its techniques and its political and judicial weapons, obviously transported European models to other continents, it had also considerable boomerang effect on the mechanisms of power in the West, and on the apparatuses, institutions, and techniques of power. A whole series of colonial models was brought back to the West, and the result was that the West could practice something resembling colonization, or an internal colonialism, on itself. And it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to understand why these concepts seem to originate with French colonized thinkers in the aftermath of World War II, given the various colonial efforts that were going on in the country at the time and in Africa, particularly with Algeria. And it also doesn't take a rocket surgeon to understand why this is a talking point in the Trump administration, because, we just gotta be real, in every sense of the word, the Imperial Boomerang is here. I warned explicitly that this would happen should he be allowed to re-enter office. And sure enough, here we are. And while Trump is obviously bad for being the one who's implementing this wasn't a fast process. This has obviously been going on for years. Again, like, the main tenet of the Imperial Boomerang is that, in this case, the United States would have to test these methods in other countries first. Like, literally, they had to build the apparatus, they had to get the support of the people in question to do that. And, most of all the things that we are seeing happen in this current day and age were implemented in other countries first. Currently, we're on the cusp of the government and private companies collecting way more private data on us than prior, like in regards to our private communications especially. Stuff like that was tested in places like Afghanistan and the Bahamas, where the United States was at one point literally collecting every single phone conversation in the nations. And yes, we also had like the Edward Snowden thing, but the Edward Snowden leaks kind of showed like, again, like the difference. Like, I mean, first they tested like the full on like, oh, collecting every single phone information. Then we got with the rise of the Edward Snowden thing, like he revealed like they were collecting metadata. But now it's like, now we're going even further. We're going to collect a bunch of data. Remember when the FBI started randomly raiding L. Louis Lucas's office over pretty dubious accusations of corruptions? Kind of reminds me of how earlier the United States would go after a Latin American leader over pretty baseless accusations themselves. Huh? Remember that? Arbitrarily arresting and deporting pro-Palestinian protesters as terrorists? Israel called, they want their playbook that we gave them back. And what happened in Minnesota is a borderline exact replica of the United States' implementations of it in the Middle East and Latin America. Which, I mean, one of the other aspects that was even shown even further to explain this was just the full-on fact that the United States, like ICE, had hired 7,500 veterans to be part of the raids. Literally, most of them being Iraq war vets. Like, literally, we trained these guys to be. It's also, again, like a longer, like a lot of things. Like, notice how there are a lot of ex-veterans who turn into cops. That's by design. We train them to be killing machines over there, and then they come back here and they become killing machines here. All of a sudden, the massive rape accusations of ICE agents have been getting they make a lot more sense now. Because again, we consented to them doing it in Iraq. Now the chickens have come home to roost. I think I remember reading something that said like that like the treatment of African Americans in like America during like segregation time period was also like an example to an extent of the Imperial Boomerang. It was sort of like literally again like they reckon like they colonized like they accepted like a lot of the white people in America accepted like it's okay to happen to the brown people, but now it's like comes home to roost. Again, the chickens came home to roost. It's the thing that a lot of people just don't seem to understand about the Imperial Boomerang, and it's like, I really want to hammer in this point a little bit more, but we're going to get to that in a bit. But it's the thing, it's like, United States, because, I mean, like, this is, again, happened over and over again. Like, you know, the British did it, every single colonial power did it. Every single colonial power did it. Like, Britain, France, and now the United States. And the United States, we got to the point where we've perfected the strategy. Like, I mean, decades of practice. And due to that fact, our implementation is going to be really bad. And by that, I don't mean that its implementation will be flawed. I mean that we've learned what loopholes work and what loopholes don't work. So we've been able to dot our I's and cross our T's. Especially now that we have more toys to play with than before. Back in the olden days, they used to have to manually put bugs in people's phones to spy on them. Like, literally, it's like, to spy on MLK, they had to take his phone, unscrew it, put a bug in it. Now, all of our phones come with back doors that the companies can like have access to immediately. And bring, bring, hello. Why, yes, U.S. government, we'll give you back doors to all these people's phones of these prominent activists. Sure, why not? And we'll even get to the point where it's like, even like the like information that's supposed to not be there anymore magically will show up there. Magically, Mark Zuckerberg will be able to pull up all your Facebook DMs, even though you haven't used Facebook in like 10 million years. What happened? How do you get those messages? If I remember correctly, there was like a Hassan Piker controversy where it's like Hassan Piker hired a company to delete a bunch of his old messages or something. But then like during a Hassan drama, he pulled them up. He literally just pulled up all these old messages out of the blue. It's like, that's a pretty big thing. How do you manage to do that? And ICE now has a bunch of Palantir-sponsored glasses that can scan everybody in the United States. And again, it manifests because they're using it under, like, the pretext is, again, oh, we're just using these glasses to, like, track all these, like, illegals. But, how the fuck do you think that works? Do you think these glasses magically turn off when they see that you're not illegal? It's like, oops, this person's not illegal. Click, we're not going to record no more. And we're going to wait until the illegal magically comes up and then click, we're going to record again. It's like, how does that work? How do you think that works? Like, the glass, like, that's not how do you think that works? Just generally. How do you guys think that works? You're right, it doesn't work that way. Because again, like, just objectively, how would it be able to turn on and off if it turns off? How can it turn itself back on again? But also, again, how can it tell you're illegal if it sees you? Like, again, this isn't about, like, I mean, again, this is truly not about that. You're not. I feel like I'm stupid. I feel like I'm stupid having to explain this, because it's just like, how do you guys not know that in order for them to figure out if you are illegal or not, they have to put you in the database in the first place? Like, it's the same with digital ID. It's like how do they figure out that you're a minor? Well, it has to collect all of your metadata and stuff. It's like, then you're already doing the thing that you're saying you're protecting the minors from being able to be done to them. You're doing the thing. Another example comes from our very favorite thing that we all love to get repeated to us, the NSPM7, which is a great example of the Imperial Boomerang happening. Like, let's just repeat the things that are put into it as quote-unquote dangerous terroristic rhetoric that the US will be monitoring as indicators of violence. So, first, support of the overthrow of the United States federal government, which makes sense in the most basic sense. Like, I mean, we just gotta be real. That just makes sense. Right there, that makes sense, right? Of course, the United States government would probably monitor someone who advocates for stuff like that. Then we go further. Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, extremism on migration, extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American values on family, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on morality. Like, again, the first one I listed is like a very explicit thing, like just very clear cut, and like, at least in my eyes, that just seems like very clear cut. The rest are obviously way more vague. Literally, I only moved the first one on top just because I just wanted to show it. It's like the first one right there, but then it's like all the way down, it starts getting more and more vague, which is by design. Like, literally, that's just by design. Like, they didn't make the concepts too vague that it would be like, okay, now you're going to bridge too far. Because if you make it too vague, like, if they just explicitly said, like, you know, left-wing views will be, like, deemed like this, that would be, like, a bridge too far, obviously. But they've made it just vague enough that, you know, you could a quote-unquote, a reasonable person could see that and go, well, I mean, like that, like, you could say that. But then they have to make it just not vague enough so that, of course, you know, the scope goes to, you know, the quote-unquote enemies, you know, the bad guys. And again, that took years of practice. Like, I mean, America, like, monitoring and, like, going after left-wing people, obviously, Latin America's dirty wars are, like, fucking filled to the brim with this. But again, usually they had to at least pretend, like, at least start with the fact that they're only going after the revolutionary groups, and then not just start with the democratic socialists. They made their way to them. Usually they usually focus on, like, the, you know, revolutionary leftist groups at the first part. Another example came from his most recent message that was posted, which really got this episode going, where he posted the part where it's like, where he labeled groups who were, quote, radically pro-transgender as a threat to, quote unquote, neutralize, but doesn't go beyond that. What the fuck does radically pro-transgender mean? Much the same way, what do any of these other concepts mean at the time? Like, let's just go over it again. Like, radically pro-transgender, what does that mean? Hostility towards those who hold traditional American values on morality. What does that mean? It means whatever they say it means. Like, they use the terms like, you know, extremism on migration, you know, ooh, anti-Christianity, anti-American, ooh, scary words. Those are scary words. And, you know, hostility towards those who hold traditional American values on blank. Again, like, they're doing that by design. Like, they're putting all these dirty words to make you seem like all these guys are bad, but it's like, but again, they don't explain what do these things mean. Like, again, like, I'll just rattle off this example again. Like, hostility towards those who hold traditional American values on family. What does that mean? Like what? Like, do you mean like Like, I mean, again, like, what do you mean? Like, do you exclusively mean people who are doing, like, violence to them? Like, violence is one thing. That's one thing. But again, like, what does that mean? Hostility. Like, hostility. Extremism on migration. Like, what does that mean? Like, do you mean completely closed borders? That's an extremist view on migration, that there should be no immigrants whatsoever. That's an extremist view. But I don't think that's what you mean. I don't think that's what you mean. And again, radically pro-transgender. What does that mean? What does radically pro-transgender mean? Again, that's just a term that they invented that makes no sense. What does that mean? Like, do you mean like forced feminization? Do you mean again, like, do you mean forced feminization? Like, that's the only thing I can even remotely think of that would be radically pro-transgender. Like, forcing trans surgeries on people who don't need it, I guess? Like, what does that mean? But that's not what I mean. They don't mean that. Again, the label just means whatever they say it means at the time. And we're supposed to just trust that these guys are making the right decision. And considering this administration has repeatedly lied about many, many things, including but not limited to the Epstein files, big one, big cover-up that they've been doing on that regard, do we really trust them to be the moral arbiters of what counts as terrorism or not? Now, to those of you who do trust this administration, you shouldn't, but to those of you who do trust this administration, what about the next guy? Like, I mean, like, because the thing you're not understanding. This is not, you're not understanding the fact that this is not just the NLB. Like, again, like, the Trump administration is basically just trying to pretend that they are, like, the full-on, like, again, I've said this before a million times. Look at the Trump administration's actions on a lot of things. Do these sound like the actions of people who think that there will be fair elections, that they could possibly be voted out, that they would actually be facing repercussions for their actions? Does this actually seem like that? Does that sound like any of that? Does this make any sense to anybody who actually thinks that to be the case? But again, I mean, let's just put a hypothetical out there that this is, again, just a single administration that's making these decisions, and that there's a transition of power or whatever. Do you trust the next guy to do that? Like, do you trust the next guy? I mean, when you open Pandora's box, you can't put the spirits back in. That's how the story goes. Like, but again, just, you shouldn't trust this administration, and I'll explain why. Renee Good. Let's just go over the Renee Good story again, because this is one that bears repeating, because a lot of people still don't seem to grasp this fact. Okay, so Renee Good did not take part in any explicit protest activities. She was a legal observer of ICE. That's what she was. She was a legal observer of ICE activity in her neighborhood. She did not impede any federal investigators. She did not cause any issues. She did not resist the federal officers when they were attempting to gather information on her, even stating, quote, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." She remained calm. She remained collected. She followed the conflicting orders that the officers were giving to her. And despite that, she was shot 3 times by that fucking disgusting piece of pig feces named Jonathan Ross. And then afterwards, labeled as a domestic terrorist by the Trump administration. Do we trust these guys to make the right decisions on the future of whatever? Do we trust them at all? Do we trust the administration that is willing to hide the fact that the guy in charge has literally fucked children? Are we going to trust that guy? And this is the thing. Like, that story, to me, reinforces this fact to a lot of people. But I need to just say this again, because I've said this to conservatives multiple times during the Trump administration. I've just said this very bluntly, because you just gotta say it. I mean, like, everybody who's listening to this, every single person who's listening to this, everybody, not just the leftists, the liberals, conservatives, NPCs, moderates, libertarians, every single person of every single ideological faction, however plugged into politics you are, if you're not plugged into politics at all, listen to these words very clearly. You are next. This doesn't stop at the crazy troons. This does not stop at the dirty illegals. This doesn't stop at the crazy commies. This doesn't stop at just the people who break the law. Again, it's called the Imperial Boomerang for a reason. You throw it at us, and then it comes right back to hit you. It doesn't matter if you think that it's only going to affect the people under you. And that's the thing. You guys genuinely think it will. I saw a tweet where someone posted like a thing where it's the reason why a lot of, I guess, they say white people, a lot of the reason why they say white people are perfectly fine with digital ID and all this other surveillance stuff is because they don't think they have anything to hide. And it's that's not the problem. You having anything to hide is irrelevant. Does it not bother you at all that you could you're just giving the government the entirety access to all your information? Does that not bother you at all? At all? Whether or not you have anything to hide is irrelevant. It's the fact that the overreach is happening at all. Libs already understand it, but I think that I'll say this one just to say this so that you guys can understand this. You guys know that leftists have never tried to assassinate Trump. That's the big thing. Liberals are bigger targets than leftists because you guys actually tried it. Ryan Ruth and Cole Thomas Allen. Liberals did it. Lefties didn't do shit. And Thomas Crooks was a Nazi, but, we can't talk about that part. We can't talk about that part. Ignoring that, just ignore that for the time being. Let's just focus on it on a philosophical sense, or I guess in a historical sense, because, this is focusing to the right-wingers, I guess. But, do you guys not remember that very famous poem that we had to learn about when we learned about the Holocaust? The First They Came poem? First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Big poem. A lot of people, it's a very famous poem. You guys, I mean, this is a factoid. I think I said it on the show before, but this is a factoid that is very important about that poem. The author of that poem, Martin Niemöller, was a Nazi. He supported Hitler's re-election. He supported all of Hitler's election bids. But that didn't stop him from becoming a target. Because fascists want power over everyone. You're not special. It's not stopping at your enemies. The leopards are gonna eat your face too. Ben Shapiro used to use this talking about all the time, a government that can give you all you want also has the power to take it all away. Well, think of it like this. If the government has the power to take away all of your enemies' rights, you give them the power to take away your rights. It's the same notion of again, I mentioned this again. I mentioned this prior. I just got this talking point earlier. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear when it comes to mass surveillance. Whether or not you have anything to hide is irrelevant. It does not bother you that the U.S. government or any government can keep tabs on your communication at all times. And again, for all the conservatives in my audience, let's play a hypothetical. Hypothetical time. All this stuff happens, but replace Trump with Obama. And all of those targets are, against you. Magically, I'm going to see a lot of you guys start being oh, wait, hold on. Now I'm starting to see the problems. Because again, right-wingers' ideologies have become so rotted that literally their whole ideology is just that they hate Obama and they hate libs and they hate leftists. And I know this for a fact because Republican cuck supreme Mike Lee literally did all of this during the Obama administration. When it was revealed with the Edward Snowden leaks, he was one of the first people to lead the charge against mass surveillance. And now under the Trump administration, now that the uppity Negro's gone, Mike Lee is all stead ready to be part of the U.S. mass surveillance operation. Daddy Donald can do whatever he wants while Mike Lee sits in the little cuck chair. And, especially for the rightoids in the audience, depending on your flavor of right-wing propaganda, you're already a target. Have you critiqued America's policy on Iran or Israel? Boom. Anti-Americanism, you are now a threat. Are you a member of the sovereign citizen movement? That's a borderline anarchist movement because anarchism is also labeled a dirty, evil group by the Trump administration. Ammon Bundy, you're in real trouble if you want to do another standoff. And the funny thing is, we don't even gotta play hypotheticals because it's already happening. Sebastian Gorka, the fucking podcaster who is aiming to be the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, has already labeled Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson as domestic terrorists. And literally because they critiqued Trump on Iran. That's literally the problem that they have. And literally they're being their identity is being ripped away from them. Like, he's like said something like, oh, they're not actually conservatives, so blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, they're not conservatives, they're fascists, so are you, but you guys are different flavors of fascism. They're esoteric, you're Nazis. I don't know the main difference. They wouldn't even be esoteric, you know. I just wanted to put like a stupid fucking fake arbitrary label that denotes these two as different types of fascist, but they're just both same flavors of the same shit. But anyways, like, again, they're coming for you next. Leftists are the ones that are standing in the way of them getting to you. It's literally like they're standing in the way of getting into your way. And if we don't shape things up, things can get infinitely worse. Like, again, most of this stuff is borrowed from our experiments in other parts of the world. And our experiments in the other parts of the world can be extremely draconian, even worse than any of the things that has happened right now. Yoon Suk-yeol was an ally of Trump and tried to implement martial law by arbitrarily claiming that his opponents, like the political opposition of his country, were aided by foreign actors. Currently, Trump is threatening to arrest Obama for reasons. More information to follow. Nayib Bukele, who the Trump administration has had a close relationship with and is basically propped up in every sense of the word, literally did a mass gerrymandering effort to solidify political power and extend his term illegally, and alongside launching arbitrary detentions in the worst kept prisons in the world. What if that sounds a little familiar to something that's been going on here? Donald Trump has been an ally to former president of Colombia, Alvaro Uribe, who, as I mentioned in a previous episode, literally spearheaded a campaign program where soldiers were rewarded they were given rewards for the more dangerous evil leftist guerrillas that they killed, which in turn led them to just start killing random people and then labeling them leftists afterwards to collect their rewards. Doesn't that sound a little draconian? And I'll make it even more draconian and make it even more terrifying for you guys. Drone warfare. A lot of American people have co-signed that the U.S. military can make the decision to just precision strike random people across the world and face no repercussions if they get it wrong. Obama killed many American citizens with his drones and killed many civilians in the countries of, all the Middle Eastern countries that he attacked in. Trump increased that program massively, even to the point where they just started randomly killing fishers in fucking Venezuelan waters and then said they were drug terrorists. To give you guys the biggest piece of anxiety while listening to this, imagine if one day someone doesn't even have to be in this administration, but imagine somebody just floats the idea, well, if it worked in Venezuela, and before you guys rush to say but come on, dude, that's illegal. Those are all terrible things and they're all illegal to do. Yeah, they are illegal to do. And yet, where are the repercussions? The USA's been getting away with all this for years, man. Years. And none of them are in jail. And remember, Donald Trump has been fighting tooth and nail to prosecute 6 politicians who simply stated the words, "Soldiers do not have to follow illegal orders," who is also the same guy who tried to steal an election, refused to concede, tried to overthrow the government, and is getting the lesson told to him that even if he does all this, him and his friends can walk free. But not to be completely doomer, I'm going to give one silver lining thus far. And it's the fact that our resistance has been strong enough to push it back somewhat. The one major thesis that a lot of people have been seeing was that Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis was supposed to be the blueprint for the Trump administration. That was supposed to be the blueprint. And yet the resistance in that one city has pushed back enough to halt the most draconian aspects of the plan for the time being. Sure, there's still aspects of the plan that are forming. Massive attempts to gerrymander the most recent elections, trying to rig it massively. And that's the big thing. Resistance to it has pushed a lot of the worst parts of it back for a little bit. But there's still bad things coming. We all know bad things are coming. Divided, we are weak. United, we are strong. I've said this before and I'll say it again. We need another Popular Front. A massive coalition of anti-fascist forces who will put aside their differences and work together to defeat the common enemy. And we all can put our efforts into our own ways of resisting. Protest if you're able to. Hashtag activism if you must. Phone bank for candidates who actually you think could stop this all the way down to the local level. Train yourself in self-defense. Build inroads with your communities to talk to people. That's a big one. But there's another thing. If you can't do any of the other things that I said, this is one thing that I really think is actually an important thing for a lot of you guys to hear. A lot of people to hear. And this is a big one. And this is a big one, but it's also a small one, obviously. It's if you can't do any of the other things that are big and important. There's one thing I even say is this is one that's a little bit bigger. It's if you have a voice, make it be heard. That's one big thing. If you have a voice, make it be heard. Like I said, hashtag activism. Start a YouTube channel and just, spread awareness of your ideology or whatever. Do whatever you must. Again, something as small or something as big. But one big thing that I need to emphasize to everyone, and this is a big important one. Even if you can't do any other things that I've said thus far, if even your mere existence is seen as an act of resistance against this regime, then it is your moral imperative to keep existing. I know that might be a little tiring to hear, my mere existence is an act of resistance. I don't want it to be. I want to just exist. Yes. But also, if your mere existence is an act of resistance, it's important. That's the thing that emphasizes that fact. It's important. The fact that it is an act of resistance makes it important. The fact that you exist is important as well. But even if you feel like just existing is not enough, no, it is. It is. Your mere existence is enough. It's important. We can't do this without you. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to find a future video mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.